Leo was the epitome of wealth and privilege. As the only heir to one of the most prominent conglomerates in the country, his life was nothing short of luxury. Expensive suits, private jets, and an array of luxury cars, it was all at his fingertips. Yet, for all his wealth and status, there was one thing that constantly drained him: his girlfriend Roselia. Roselia wasn't just any girlfriend, she was the carefully selected choice of his parents, a result of a calculated alliance between two powerful families. Her parents were major stakeholders in Leo's family business, and their union was seen as the ultimate power move. But to Leo it felt more like a life sentence. Roselia was stunning, her beauty could make heads turn in any room, but her personality was unbearable. She had a knack for nagging over the smallest things, and her favorite pastime seemed to be prying into Leo's personal life. Anytime Leo picked up his phone, her eyes would narrow. "Who are you talking to this time?" she would demand, arms crossed and lips pursed. Leo would sigh, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. "Roselia, it's just my assistant. You know, the one who schedules my meetings." But Roselia was relentless. "Are you sure? Because last time I saw a girl's name pop up on your screen." "Who was she, Leo?" "She was a client." Leo replied, exasperated. "Do you think the company runs itself?" But Roselia would only huff and mutter under her breath, something about how those girls were always after him. One afternoon, as Leo relaxed in his sprawling living room, scrolling through his phone, Roselia walked in and immediately honed in on him like a hawk spotting prey. "Who are you texting now?" she asked, leaning over his shoulder. Leo jumped slightly, clutching his phone to his chest like a child hiding candy. "For heaven's sake, Roselia, do you have to know every single thing I do?" Her eyes narrowed. "Yes, I do. You're my boyfriend, Leo, and I have a right to know." "You mean your parents' boyfriend?" Leo muttered under his breath, but Roselia didn't hear, or pretended not to. The tension between them was constant, and it wasn't uncommon for their arguments to turn into unintentional comedy. Like the time Leo tried to sneak out for a drive in his Ferrari just to get some peace, only for Roselia to spot him and insist on coming along. "You're not going anywhere without me," she declared, climbing into the passenger seat. Leo groaned. "Roselia, I'm just going for a quick drive to clear my head." "Clear your head? Or meet one of your many admirers?" Leo shot her an incredulous look. He couldn't help but to take her along to clear off the drama. Leo kept quiet all through the drive, thinking of a way to get rid of her. The next day, Leo's day had started on a professional note with an important meeting scheduled with Julie, one of the company's key shareholders. Julie was not only intelligent and business savvy but also undeniably beautiful, with an air of confidence that complemented her status as the daughter of wealthy parents. Dressed in an elegant blue dress, she exuded a professional charm that Leo admired. The two were in the middle of discussing plans for an upcoming project in his office when suddenly, the door swung open with a loud bang. "Leo." Roselia's voice cut through the room like a knife. Both Leo and Julie looked up, startled. Roselia marched in, her eyes darting suspiciously toward Julie. "Who's this?" Roselia demanded, crossing her arms as her sharp gaze locked on Julie. Leo sighed, already feeling the headache forming. "Roselia, this is Julie. She's one of our shareholders and a business partner." Julie offered a polite smile, trying to diffuse the tension. "It's nice to meet you." But Roselia wasn't having it. She stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. "A business partner, huh? Then why are you all dolled up like you're on a date?" Julie's polite demeanor faltered and she frowned. "Excuse me?" Leo stood up, raising his hands in an attempt to calm Roselia down. "Roselia, stop this. Julie is here for a meeting, nothing else." But Roselia ignored him, turning to Julie with a challenging glare. "Listen, sweetheart, whatever you think is going on here, it's not happening. Leo is my boyfriend, so I suggest you leave before you embarrass yourself further." Julie's jaw tightened as she grabbed her tablet and stood up. "You know what? I don't need this. Clearly you two have unresolved issues to work out. I'll be in touch with the board, Leo." She strode out of the office, her heels clicking sharply against the tiled floor. Leo called after her, "Julie, wait." But before he could follow, Roselia stepped in front of him, blocking his path. "You're not going anywhere with her," she said firmly, her eyes blazing with jealousy. Leo clenched his fists, his patience wearing thin. "Roselia, do you even hear yourself? She's a business partner." "Yeah, right." Roselia scoffed. "I saw the way she looked at you. You think I'm blind? Leo didn't respond. He knew there was no reasoning with her when she was like this. The rest of the day passed in a haze of frustration and damage control, and by evening he found himself in his parents' study, recounting the entire incident. She embarrassed me in front of an important shareholder, Leo said, pacing the room. This isn't the first time she's pulled something like this. I can't take it anymore. His mother raised an eyebrow but remained calm. Roselia is a good girl, Leo. She's just passionate. Passionate? Leo echoed, incredulous. She's possessive and completely irrational. How do you expect me to run this company when she's sabotaging my relationships with key partners? His father chimed in, his tone dismissive. Roselia is the best match for you. Her family is important to our business, Leo. You can't just walk away because of a few minor disagreements. Minor? Leo's voice rose. She's driving me insane. I'm done with her controlling behavior. His mother waved a hand, clearly uninterested in continuing the argument. You'll learn to manage her, Leo. Relationships take work. Frustrated and feeling unheard, Leo stormed out of the study. He needed space, clarity, anything to escape the suffocating expectations his parents kept piling on him. Sitting in his car later that night, staring out at the city skyline, Leo resolved to find a way to break free from Roselia. Leo stormed out of his family mansion, his thoughts a whirlwind of frustration. He drove to one of the fanciest bars in the city, a sleek, upscale place where he and his best friend James often hung out. As Leo walked in, his sharp suit and chiseled features drew the usual attention. But Leo ignored them. At a corner booth, James was already waiting, a sly grin plastered on his face as he sipped his cocktail. Looks like someone's in a bad mood, James teased as Leo slid into the seat opposite him. Understatement of the century, Leo muttered, running a hand through his dark hair. Roselia showed up at my office today and caused a scene in front of Julie. She practically chased her out. James let out a low whistle. Julie? The shareholder? That's bad. What's the plan now? Leo leaned back, frustration evident in his posture. That's what I'm here to figure out. I need to get rid of her. She's unbearable. Do you have any genius ideas? James smirked, swirling the ice in his glass. Simple. Ignore her. Act like she doesn't exist. Women hate that. Leo shook his head. That won't work. Roselia thrives on drama. If I ignore her, she'll just create more chaos to get my attention. Before James could reply, a bartender approached their table. He was young, maybe in his mid-20s, with striking brown eyes, neatly styled brown hair, and a sharp jawline. His white shirt clung perfectly to his well-toned physique, and he carried an air of calm confidence. What can I get for you, gentlemen? He asked, his voice smooth yet professional. Leo blinked, momentarily taken aback by the bartender's looks. His gaze lingered a second too long, and James noticed. Leo? James nudged him, smirking. You okay there? Leo cleared his throat, breaking eye contact. I'll have an old-fashioned. Thanks. The bartender nodded, flashing a polite smile before heading back to the bar. Once he was out of earshot, James leaned closer, grinning mischievously. What was that? Did you just get lost in the bartender's eyes? Don't tell me you've suddenly gone gay. Leo chuckled, shaking his head. Very funny, James. No, I'm not gay. But then, as James's words lingered, an idea sparked in Leo's mind. His lips curled into a sly smile, and James raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What are you thinking? James asked. I've got it, Leo said, leaning forward. I'll pretend to be gay. James nearly choked on his drink, laughing. Are you serious? Yeah, Leo said, his tone firm. If Roselia thinks I'm not into women, she'll leave me alone. She's possessive and dramatic, but even she wouldn't stick around if she thought I was gay. James shook his head, still chuckling. That's insane. But knowing Roselia, it just might work. Leo grinned. Exactly. And I think our charming bartender might be the key to pulling this off. James raised an eyebrow. What are you planning? Simple. Leo said. Give him my card. Tell him I need to talk to him tomorrow. James leaned back, laughing again. You're unbelievable, Leo. Fine, I'll take care of it. But don't blame me if this backfires spectacularly. Leo smirked. It won't. Trust me, James. This is going to be fun. As the bartender returned with their drinks, James discreetly handed him Leo's business card, saying, My friend here would like to meet with you tomorrow. Be at the address on the card at 10 a.m. The bartender looked at the card, then at Leo, who gave him a polite smile. "I'll be there," the bartender said before walking away. Leo took a sip of his drink, feeling a surge of confidence. This plan was bold, risky, and slightly ridiculous, but it was also his best shot at freedom. Jerry had spent the entire evening shopping in preparation for his meeting with Leo. He bought himself a sleek navy blue suit that fit him like a glove, a pair of polished black leather shoes, and even treated himself to a stylish haircut. The transformation was stunning. Jerry looked every bit like a man of class and charm. The next morning, with an air of confidence, Jerry walked into Leo's company. The receptionist, clearly expecting him, greeted him with a warm smile and immediately escorted him to Leo's office. Leo was sitting at his desk, reviewing some documents, but the moment Jerry entered, his attention shifted entirely. His jaw almost dropped at the sight. His eyes widened. Leo stood up, walking around his desk to get a better look. "Money definitely looks good on you," Leo said, his tone slightly teasing but genuine. Jerry smirked, his usual easy charm radiating through. "Well, it's your money," he replied, leaning back casually on the plush chair offered to him. A waiter came in and handed Jerry a glass of red wine. The two started discussing plans for their arrangement when the door to the office suddenly burst open. Roselia stormed in, her heels clicking furiously against the marble floor. "Leo," she started, her voice sharp and accusatory, "who is this?" Her eyes narrowed as she scrutinized Jerry, clearly trying to make sense of his presence. Leo didn't seem fazed by her intrusion. Without breaking stride, he replied nonchalantly, "This is Jerry, a friend." "A friend? I have never seen him," Roselia repeated, her tone laced with disbelief. "And what exactly are you two doing?" Leo glanced at her briefly, his expression neutral, before turning his attention back to Jerry. "We're talking," he said simply, dismissing her question as if it held no weight. The lack of attention enraged Roselia further. She huffed loudly, her arms crossed in frustration. "Leo, I'm not stupid. I know you're up to something." Leo raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Roselia, if you're done with your theatrics, I'd appreciate it if you gave us some privacy," he said calmly but firmly. Jerry sipped his wine, his amusement barely concealed. Roselia glared at him, clearly furious at being ignored, and stormed out of the office, slamming the door behind her. After she left, Leo chuckled lightly, shaking his head. "She's always like that. Possessive and dramatic." Jerry gave him a knowing look. "You sure know how to pick them," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Leo sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Trust me, if it were up to me, she wouldn't even be in the picture." The rest of the meeting went smoothly, with Jerry eventually excusing himself to leave. As Jerry walked out of the office, Leo found himself thinking about Jerry. Jerry's visits to Leo's office had become a regular occurrence, much to Roselia's dismay. Every time she saw him sitting comfortably across from Leo, laughing and exchanging jokes, her blood boiled. She couldn't stand the way Leo's attention was completely diverted from her to Jerry. Leo, on the other hand, was already head over heels for Jerry. He couldn't stop thinking about him, the way Jerry's eyes sparkled when he laughed, the effortless charm in his demeanor. The idea of pretending to be interested in Jerry to push Roselia away was now the furthest thing from Leo's mind. He was genuinely falling for him. One day, while they were alone in Leo's office, Leo decided it was time to come clean. He cleared his throat, nervous but determined. "Jerry, I need to tell you something," he began, his voice softer than usual. Jerry leaned forward, intrigued. "What is it?" Leo hesitated for a moment, then said, "I don't think I've been entirely honest with you or myself. I didn't bring you into my life just to make Roselia leave. I brought you in because I wanted you here. With me." Jerry's heart raced at Leo's confession. He stood up, looking at Leo with wide eyes. "Leo, are you serious right now?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. "Yes," Leo said firmly. "I've fallen for you, Jerry. And I don't want to hide it anymore." Overcome with emotion, Jerry moved closer to Leo, his gaze locked on his. Just as he was about to kiss Leo, the office door flew open. "What the hell is going on here?" Roselia's voice cut through the moment like a knife. She stood frozen in the doorway, her face a mixture of shock and fury. "I knew it. I knew your so-called friendship wasn't normal." Jerry quickly stepped back, his face flushed, but Leo didn't even flinch. He looked at Roselia with a calm yet defiant expression. Roselia stormed out, her heels clicking furiously against the floor as she muttered, "You'll regret this." True to her word, Roselia went straight to her family and Leo's parents, spilling everything she'd seen. She thought it would ruin Leo's image, but unknown to her, Leo had been preparing for this confrontation for weeks. When his family questioned him about Roselia's accusations, Leo simply showed them the pictures James had taken of Roselia at the bar, drunk and kissing an unknown man. "This is the woman you want me to marry?" Leo asked pointedly. "She's not even loyal." Leo's parents were silent, unable to argue. Roselia's family, humiliated, quickly took her and left. As they exited, Roselia cursed under her breath, vowing that Leo would regret leaving her. That night, Leo lay in his bed, a whirlwind of emotions running through him. He felt relief that Roselia was finally out of his life, but also a pang of uncertainty about what the future held. One thing was clear. His feelings for Jerry were real and he couldn't ignore them anymore. Meanwhile, Jerry was in his small apartment, his mind replaying the almost kiss with Leo. A blush spread across his cheeks as he whispered to himself, "What have you done to me, Leo?" Jerry finally picked up his phone and typed a message to Leo, "I can't stop thinking about you. I think I've fallen for you too." When Leo read the message, a huge smile spread across his face. He replied immediately, "You don't know how happy that makes me. Let's talk tomorrow." That night, Leo slept peacefully for the first time in weeks, knowing that he didn't care about his family's approval or societal expectations. All that mattered to him now was Jerry, and this time he was in love. Leo knew he couldn't keep his relationship with Jerry a secret any longer. One evening after dinner, he sat his parents down in the grand living room of their estate. His heart pounded in his chest, but he was determined to fight for his happiness. "I have something important to tell you," Leo began, his voice firm but laced with emotion. "I've made a decision about my life, and I hope you'll support me. I'm in love with Jerry and I want to be with him." His parents exchanged shocked glances. His father was the first to speak, his tone cold and dismissive. "Leo, that's ridiculous. You have responsibilities, to this family, to our name. This is unacceptable." His mother chimed in, her voice softer but equally disapproving. "Leo, think about the legacy you're throwing away. You're our only son, the heir to everything we've built. This relationship will ruin everything." Leo took a deep breath, his resolve strengthening. "If you can't accept me for who I am and respect the choices I make for my own happiness, then I'll leave. I'll walk away from this company, this house, and this family. I'll go far away and never come back. Because if my happiness doesn't matter to you, then none of this does to me." His mother's face fell, pain evident in her eyes. She clutched her chest as if his words had struck her physically. "Leo, don't say that," she whispered, tears threatening to spill. His father looked conflicted but said nothing. Finally, his mother stood up and turned to leave, her voice trembling as she said, "Do as you please." As the door closed behind them, Leo felt a weight lift off his shoulders. His face brightened with relief and joy. He immediately called Jerry, his voice bubbling with excitement. "Jerry, we can finally go on a date without having anything to worry about." Jerry's laughter echoed through the phone. "That's amazing, Leo. You really did it." That evening, Leo and Jerry celebrated with a romantic dinner at an exclusive rooftop restaurant. The city lights sparkled below as they shared their first official date. They laughed, talked, and enjoyed each other's company, their connection growing deeper with every passing moment. Later that night, back at Leo's penthouse, they shared a tender kiss under the soft glow of the city skyline. It was a moment of pure bliss, the start of something beautiful. From that day on, Leo and Jerry lived life to the fullest. They visited amusement parks, laughed together on roller coasters, and shared cotton candy. They dined at various restaurants, sampling cuisines from around the world. They traveled to their dream destinations, strolling through picturesque streets and taking in breathtaking landscapes. One evening, after a long day exploring, they returned home. As they sat on the couch, Leo rested his head on Jerry's shoulder, holding his hand tightly. "I've never been this happy," Leo murmured, his voice filled with contentment. Jerry smiled, kissing Leo's forehead. "Neither have I." And just like that, they drifted off into a peaceful sleep, together in love, ready to face whatever the future held. Please like and subscribe for more interesting BL stories. Thanks for watching.